So I remember the day that my daughter told me that she no longer wanted to live with me. And I was devastated. She was 17, halfway through her junior year of high school. She'd lived with me full time for the majority of the time that I had had her. And I went out of town for work one day, spent a week in Colorado, was literally driving home. And I called her and said, hey, I'll be home in a few minutes, and or about 8 o'clock or something like that. And can you meet me there? And I just remember her tone was different. And I knew instantly I had that pit, something in the pit of my stomach that said like, oh, this is not good. She was kind of being evasive and saying, well, I think I'm going to spend one more night at Dad's, and maybe I'll come home sometime tomorrow and we can chat, and just was really kind of beating around the bush about it. And I just knew, in that moment that something had changed. I got home and said, nope, you're gonna meet me at the house. And she said, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stay with Dad. And that's when I lost my mind. And I literally felt like I was being broken up with. I felt blindsided. I felt like the love of my life had just left me, and I wasn't even expecting it. This was my baby. She was my little girl, and we had been like two peas in a pod in my mind all along. And so I literally felt completely blindsided and didn't know where to go. And I said, no, you have to meet me at the house as soon as we get home. And so she did, and I did not handle it very well at all. In fact, I completely went crazy. My head was probably spinning or something, but in that moment, I just, I couldn't grasp her. I couldn't gain control of her. I couldn't get her back. I felt like she was just gone. And it didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what I did. She was 17 and totally independent, and she'd made her mind up, and I didn't know what to do. And I just remember in that moment, I kept thinking about, even in that moment, and then when she walked out the door and left and packed up her stuff, and the days and weeks following, I just remember the Lord saying, I'm the God of redemption. And I kept thinking, like, Lord, I know that you're a good God, but like, why now? Why this? But I just kept believing that he was going to redeem this relationship and that we would be better through it. But I couldn't see that in the moment. And I just felt completely torn and devastated. But this is my best friend, Natalie, who is my daughter. And I just wanted to know, how could I have handled that differently? Because I know I did not handle that very well at all.
So there was a lot behind the reason that I wanted to go to my dad's. It had nothing to do with me and you. It had everything to do with me. I'm a teenager. I'm selfish. All teenagers are. And I had grown up my whole life living with my mom. And my dad was in the military, so he was moving around a lot, so I didn't get to see him as much. And so when my dad moved here, and I wanted the opportunity to live with him and I'm 17, I was about to graduate high school. I needed those last few years, and I wanted to get that with my dad. And I also, there was just a different type of, it was different in the way that he gave us a little bit more freedom, treated us more like adults. And I liked that. I mean, I was 17. I wanted as much freedom as I could get. And so when my dad gave me more freedom, I was like, yes, this is awesome. Like, I love staying with my dad's. So it had nothing to do with anything between us. But after the fact, our relationship did turn south. It wasn't great. And I think that happened because our conversation didn't go well during when I was telling her I was moving in with my dad. It was very loud, and it was not good. It was not healthy. It was not a good conversation. And so I think what we both could have done better was had a more calm demeanor, talked from the heart and not just what was coming to our head immediately. It was just, you did nothing wrong. It was just, we just needed to calm down.
Yeah.
We were heated.
And then it was hard, even walking through that, to get us back to a point where we could have conversations. That probably took, like a year maybe?
Yeah, I'd say it took us about 6 months to like start to get back to how, like, talking to each other normally, like how we used to have a conversation. But then I'd say that 6 months to the year after that, we kind of just blossomed and we grew. And now, I mean, I'm 19 now, and I love spending time with my mom. She is my best friend. And I don't think if that would never have happened, we would not be this close. And I say that for a fact, because I think we needed to go through those hardships in order to regrow this relationship that we have now.
Yeah, I do think that we appreciate each other differently now. I think I took for granted that I just had you, and that that you would always choose me. And so I think now the fact that you choose me as an adult and you want to be with me, because there were moments where I was tempted to offer you anything and change anything and give you whatever you wanted. But I had a really wise friend tell me that I just needed to be consistent and just be who I was. And I think that you valued and appreciated me differently for who I was, and I too for who you were, and as a woman that you became. And I think we appreciated each other differently after that.
I definitely appreciate you more now. I think realizing, going through those hard times and going through those tough things at school without my mom, because I used to always go to her for everything, and whenever I had to do that with my dad, it was, I mean, he's great, but it's just like, you know, your mom and daughter bonds, it's something else. So it really made me realize what I lost, and I never want to do that again.
So
I love you.
So if you're a mom out there that finds yourself in a similar moment where you know your baby and your best friend has abandoned you, left you, and you don't know what to do, I just want to remind you of God's promises in 2 Corinthians 1:20, where he tells us that all of his promises are yes and amen, and that he is the Lord of redemption.